When you look at the vast and timeless desert of Egypt, the word Kemet might not immediately come to mind. Yet this term, which means black land in the ancient Egyptian language, was once used to describe this area, highlighting the fertile soil along the banks of the Nile River, the lifeblood of the civilization we know today as ancient Egypt. But were the Kemites merely skilled farmers and pyramid builders, or was there more to them? Could there possibly be connections to other worldly beings? The term Kemites stems from Kemet, which translates to the Black Land in the ancient Egyptian language. This phrase illustrates the contrast between the fertile black soil of the Nile River's banks and the harsh surrounding desert, often referred to as Deshret, or the Red Land. However, the term Kemet signifies far more than a geographical landscape. It represented a civilization that was one of the most enduring and influential in human history. The people of Kemet, the Kemetes, constructed a culture that has contributed a great deal to the world in various fields such as architecture, mathematics, science, and art. The Kemites were builders of an incredible magnitude. They are known for the creation of the pyramids, grand burial structures for their pharaohs, and the Sphinx, one of the most iconic monuments worldwide. The sheer precision and scale of these constructions are an enduring testament to their engineering prowess and architectural ingenuity. They were also highly sophisticated in their administrative systems, maintaining detailed records of their pharaohs, political affairs, and religious rituals. These have been crucial in enabling us to piece together the history and societal structure of Kemet. The religion of the Kemites was intricately woven into every aspect of their daily life. They had a polytheistic belief system with a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each overseeing different aspects of life and nature. These religious beliefs not only guided their moral code, but also played a significant role in their understanding of the world, life, death, and the afterlife. In the realm of art, Kemets were masterful. Their sculptures, paintings, and pottery were not only beautiful, but also carried significant symbolic meaning. These artifacts provide a window into their values, beliefs, and everyday life, contributing to our understanding of this extraordinary civilization. The association between the Kemites and extraterrestrial theories mainly originates from their incredible achievements in construction, astronomy, and science that appear to far surpass what would have been achievable with the technology thought to be available to them. This includes, most notably, the construction of the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx, which showcase an astounding level of precision and understanding of complex mathematics and engineering. One element of this theory focuses on the construction of the pyramids, specifically the Great Pyramid of Giza. The pyramid's alignment with the magnetic North Pole, the precise dimensions and ratios correlating with complex mathematics and astronomical phenomena, and the extraordinary undertaking of constructing such a monument with huge stones, all have led some to question whether the Kemites had help from technologically advanced extraterrestrial beings. Moreover, the precise alignment of the pyramids of Giza with the stars in the belt of Orion has also been used as evidence for this theory. This alignment, along with various other astronomical alignments found in their architecture and art, suggests a deep understanding of the cosmos that seems uncannily advanced for the time. Another aspect of Kemet's civilization that feeds into this theory is their mythology and religious beliefs. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and artwork are full of references to sky gods, powerful beings who descended from the stars, and strange objects seen in the sky. Proponents of the ancient astronaut theory suggest that these are not myths or symbols, but literal depictions of extraterrestrial visitors. It's worth noting, however, that these theories often come under scrutiny. Many scholars argue that these theories underestimate the ingenuity, intelligence, and skills of ancient human civilizations. They point out that with an understanding of simple machines, human labor, and time, the Kemites could have achieved these remarkable constructions on their own. Whether or not the Kemites had extraterrestrial help is a matter of personal belief. What is undeniable is the awe-inspiring and influential legacy that Kemet civilization has left behind. Now, diving into the advanced knowledge of the Kemites. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The civilization of Kemet was notably advanced for its time, with numerous achievements in various fields such as astronomy, mathematics, architecture, and medicine. Firstly, the Kemites were skilled astronomers. Their understanding of celestial bodies was so profound that they were able to develop a calendar that is almost as accurate as the one we use today. Based on the movements of the sun, moon, and stars, they formulated a 365-day calendar divided into 12 months. This marked a significant leap in the understanding of timekeeping. Moreover, they developed complex mathematical concepts, including fractions and geometric principles, which allowed them to create stunning architectural masterpieces such as the pyramids. They understood principles of engineering, physics, and geometry that wouldn't be rediscovered until thousands of years later. In the field of medicine, Kemets demonstrated advanced knowledge too. Papyrus scripts reveal they had knowledge of human anatomy, surgical procedures, and even remedies for various ailments. Their medical practices were so developed that some even argue they carried out complex procedures like brain surgery. The complexity of these achievements has led some to speculate about a possible extraterrestrial influence. Could such a civilization have gained such advanced knowledge on their own, or was there external help involved? Theories propose that the Kemites could have had contact with an alien civilization that shared their knowledge with them, sparking the rapid development of their society. But of course, this is all conjecture and the debate continues. Now let's plunge headfirst into one of the most enduring mysteries of the Kemites, the pyramids. The pyramids of Egypt, built by the Kemites, are one of the most recognizable and enigmatic structures of the ancient world. The most famous of them, the Great Pyramid of Giza, is a marvel of engineering and precision that even modern technology struggles to replicate. This Great Pyramid is estimated to consist of over 2.3 million blocks of stone, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, and some even up to 15 tons. The precision of its construction is staggering. Its base is level to within just 2.1 centimeters, and the sides are oriented to the cardinal directions within 3 arc minutes. The construction methodology behind such a mammoth task is an enduring mystery. Several theories have been proposed about how these structures were built, from simple manual labor to complex machines, and even supernatural or alien assistance. One of the most prevalent theories is that the Kemites constructed a spiraling ramp to haul the massive stones to the required heights. However, the sheer logistics of such a venture in terms of workforce, resources, and time make this theory a subject of debate. More fringe theories have posited that the Kemites had access to advanced technology, perhaps even extraterrestrial. These theories often point to the precision and alignment of the pyramids with celestial bodies, a task that would seemingly require a more advanced understanding of mathematics and astronomy than was available at the time. One of the most fascinating elements of Kemet's rich culture is its art. This isn't simply due to its aesthetic appeal, but more intriguingly, the narratives and depictions that the art encompasses. The Kemetic art includes a wide range of expressive forms, from sculpture and architecture to relief and pottery, and of course the remarkable hieroglyphic writing system. Looking closer at the artwork, some researchers and theorists have pointed out representations that could potentially denote alien encounters. This is a contentious interpretation and is not universally accepted by historians or Egyptologists, but it certainly makes for a compelling discussion. Among the most cited pieces are the relief depictions found in the Temple of Seti, once in Abydos. This particular relief has stirred controversy as it seems to show objects resembling modern-day helicopters, submarines, and even spaceships. How could this be, given that these technologies wouldn't exist for thousands of years after the relief was created? Then there are the depictions of the gods themselves. Many of them, like the sky god Horus, who is represented as a man with the head of a falcon, and the god Ra, who is frequently portrayed traveling through the sky in a sunboat, are theorized by some to symbolize extraterrestrial beings. Critics argue these interpretations are merely a result of pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive meaningful patterns where none actually exist. However, proponents of the alien theory believe that these peculiarities are too significant to dismiss as coincidence. What's clear is that Kemetic art, laden with its mystical symbols and cryptic depictions, is still a fertile ground for exploration and interpretation. While the Kemetic civilization's feats of engineering, medicine, and astronomy were truly remarkable, some believe the alien connection theories are a step too far, an overly speculative leap that discounts the achievements of the ancient Kemites themselves. In this segment, we delve into the skepticism and the rational view of these theories. Firstly, it's important to acknowledge that correlation does not imply causation. Yes, there are intriguing overlaps between some ancient Egyptian depictions and what we might interpret as UFOs or alien figures today. But this doesn't necessarily mean that aliens were involved. After all, to the untrained eye, a cloud can resemble a dragon or a castle, but this doesn't make it so. Many experts and historians argue that interpreting the gods and hieroglyphs as aliens or UFOs is a form of cultural reductionism, simplifying complex, symbolic artwork into an anachronistic, literal interpretation. Egyptologists point out that hieroglyphs were highly stylized, symbolic, and sacred, often representing ideas or concepts rather than physical entities. The advanced knowledge demonstrated by the Kemites, while certainly impressive, may be more a testament to their sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering, rather than alien intervention. Remember, the Kemites were one of the longest-lasting civilizations in human history, giving them ample time to develop and refine their knowledge. Finally, there's the issue of Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually the best one. In this case, the simpler explanation is that the Kemites, through hundreds of years of intellectual pursuit, achieved their advancements on their own. While the idea of ancient alien visitations is an exciting theory, it adds a layer of complexity and speculation that isn't necessarily supported by hard evidence. So were the Kemites, the people of the Black Land, the benefactors of alien knowledge? Or were they simply skilled artisans, scientists and builders who utilized their understanding of the world around them to create one of the most enduring and fascinating civilizations in human history? Like the Sphinx, the answer remains enigmatic, silently gazing out into the sands of time. But one thing's for sure, the legacy of the Kemites, whether divinely, extraterrestrially, or humanly inspired, continues to captivate us, and will likely do so for many millennia to come. Have you ever looked at the grandeur of the pyramids of Egypt and thought, what if they were more than just royal tombs? What if these ancient structures were actually power plants harnessing unseen forces? Imagine the pyramids not just as final resting places for the pharaohs, but as colossal energy generators of a lost civilization. Buckle up, because today we're going on an electrifying journey exploring some fascinating theories about these ancient wonders. We're delving into the engineering marvels, piezoelectricity, and even the possibility that the pyramids predate the Egyptians. To fully grasp the awe-inspiring genius behind the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, we must understand its sheer magnitude. Standing tall at 481 feet originally, this pyramid was the tallest man-made structure on Earth for almost 4,000 years. Its colossal size isn't the only feature that impresses, though. The accuracy with which it was built is mind-boggling. For instance, the base of the pyramid is a nearly perfect square, with sides measuring about 230.4 meters each. The sides are aligned almost exactly with the cardinal points of the compass, deviating by less than 0.06 degrees from true north. This kind of precision would be a challenging feat, even with our modern construction technology, let alone with the tools and methods available over 4,000 years ago. The interior design is no less impressive. The Grand Gallery, the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and the mysterious subterranean chamber are all part of a complex internal system. These elements, combined with the intricately designed ventilation shafts, showcase the extraordinary knowledge and skill of the architects who conceived this masterpiece. The more we learn about the Great Pyramid, the more we realize just how much of an engineering marvel it is. And that's just the start of the mysteries this ancient edifice holds for us. When we consider the Great Pyramid, many among us can't help but wonder, could there be more to its purpose than a mere tomb? Enter the electrifying theory of pyramids as power plants. This idea, while certainly not mainstream, has ignited the imaginations of many independent researchers and thinkers. Some advocates of this theory point to the design and construction of the pyramid, specifically its use of granite. Granite is known to contain quartz crystals, which can generate an electrical charge under pressure, a phenomenon known as piezoelectricity. The King's Chamber, lined with granite, could potentially have generated this form of electricity. Another piece of evidence cited is the mysterious tunnels leading into and out of the King's Chamber. These shafts, some argue, could have been used to channel some form of energy. The fact that these tunnels align with certain star constellations adds further intrigue to these theories. Additionally, the location of the pyramid itself is noteworthy. The Great Pyramid is located at the geographical center of Earth's landmass. Could this be a mere coincidence, or was it intentionally built here due to some special geoelectric properties of this location? To fully grasp the theory of the Great Pyramid as a power plant, one must first understand its unique internal design, the precision with which the pyramid was constructed, the particular materials used, and the placement of different chambers and corridors all contribute to the hypothesis. Let's begin with the King's Chamber. This room is made entirely of granite, which, as we discussed before, has a significant quartz content. Quartz is known to produce an electric charge under pressure, a phenomenon known as piezoelectricity. This has led some to believe that the pyramid may have been designed to generate and store energy. Then we have the Grand Gallery, a 47 meters long, 8 meters high corridor that leads directly to the King's Chamber. It's suggested by some theorists that the gallery could act as a resonance chamber, potentially amplifying and focusing any energy generated within the King's Chamber. Below the King's Chamber and the Grand Gallery, there's the so-called Queen's Chamber, and further down still, the Subterranean Chamber. The latter is an unfinished, rough-hewn room cut into the bedrock beneath the pyramid. The purpose of these rooms is still shrouded in mystery, and some believe they were integral to the supposed energy production of the pyramid. Connecting the outside world to these internal chambers are 4 narrow shafts, 2 from the King's Chamber and 2 from the Queen's Chamber. While their precise function remains unknown, some researchers speculate they might have acted as conduits for the energy generated inside the pyramid. Finally, the Great Pyramid's external layer was originally covered in white limestone, forming a smooth outer surface. The properties of this limestone are noteworthy. It is an excellent insulator, capable of preserving the internal temperature of the pyramid, but it also conducts electricity well, which adds another fascinating angle to the power plant theory. All these details and architectural features have led some theorists to imagine the Great Pyramid as a complex energy system rather than a simple tomb. This energy, they propose, could have been harnessed for various purposes, from communication to healing to powering advanced technologies. It's a theory that continues to spark imagination. It's clear the pyramid's construction methods were highly sophisticated, and their architects were familiar with some fascinating natural phenomena. Piezoelectricity and the potential of hydrogen power offer interesting insights into the theory of pyramids as ancient power plants. Let's dive deeper into this intriguing aspect of the theory. Piezoelectricity is a property of certain materials, including quartz, to generate an electric charge in response to mechanical stress. And it just so happens that granite, the material used to build the King's Chamber and many internal passages of the Great Pyramid, contains a substantial amount of quartz. If the builders intentionally chose these materials to harness piezoelectricity, it would be evidence of an advanced understanding of physics. But how would mechanical stress have been applied to the granite? Some theorists speculate that the pyramids might have been intentionally designed to vibrate, possibly through the impact of seismic waves or sound reverberations. This vibration would stress the quartz in the granite, generating electricity. If this electricity could then be captured and directed, it could form a power source. Moving on to hydrogen, theorists have proposed that the so-called Queen's Chamber was designed as a hydrogen generator. The idea is based on the mysterious shafts leading into the chamber. According to the theory, one shaft could have supplied the chamber with hydrated zinc, and the other with dilute hydrochloric acid. When these two substances mix, they generate hydrogen gas. Could this have been the pyramid's primary source of power? The potential power of hydrogen is well known today. Hydrogen fuel cells are a clean energy technology that's gaining traction. The idea that the ancients might have harnessed the energy potential of hydrogen is tantalizing, though of course it's also highly speculative. This exploration of the Great Pyramid's internal design, the possible piezoelectric effects of its construction materials, and the potential generation of hydrogen within its chambers opens up new possibilities for interpreting this ancient wonder. Whether or not you subscribe to the power plant theory, it's certainly a fascinating angle to consider. We continue to excavate layers upon layers of history. There's a profound question that continues to baffle archaeologists, historians, and researchers alike. Are the pyramids older than the civilization we credit them to? Some propose the idea of pre-dynastic Egypt, a period before the official start of pharaonic civilization, during which these magnificent structures might have been built. They cite evidence of water erosion on the Sphinx and certain pyramids, suggesting that these structures were subjected to heavy rainfall, a climate condition that hasn't been a part of Egypt's landscape for at least 8,000 years, predating the recognized start of Egyptian civilization. This leads us to an intriguing theory. Did the ancient Egyptians merely inherit these colossal structures? This idea, often referred to as the moved-in theory, posits that the ancient Egyptians found these abandoned architectural marvels and decided to make them a part of their civilization. Proponents of this theory cite the stark contrast between the complex, massive pyramids and the simpler, smaller structures Egyptians were known to build elsewhere during the same period. They also note the absence of conclusive evidence directly linking the pharaohs to the construction of these pyramids, such as contemporary inscriptions, drawings, or definitive proof within the structures themselves. But in the realm of exploration, we must keep our minds open to new possibilities. Seeking truth with skepticism, curiosity, and relentless inquiry. The sands of Egypt still have countless stories buried within them, waiting to be discovered, decoded, and understood. Our journey now takes us to a theory that combines ancient legends, archaeological anomalies, and a sprinkle of speculative thinking. According to some theorists, the pyramids could be remnants of a prehistoric era, predating even the earliest Egyptian dynasties. This theory suggests that the pyramids might have served as a sort of ark, preserving the knowledge of a highly advanced civilization that was wiped out by a cataclysmic flood. We've all heard about the Great Deluge, a massive flood that supposedly wiped out an entire civilization. This story isn't exclusive to any one culture or region. Flood myths are recorded in the lore of numerous civilizations around the world, from the biblical tale of Noah to the ancient Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh. Some propose that this great flood, whenever it may have occurred, destroyed an advanced civilization which had built the pyramids. These survivors, they speculate, could have passed on their knowledge to the Egyptians, who then moved into the pre-existing pyramids. Interestingly, the pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid of Giza, show signs of significant water erosion, suggesting they were once partially submerged. Could this be evidence of a catastrophic flood? And there's another intriguing element to consider. The pyramids are thought to be designed with exceptional precision, aligned with celestial bodies, and potentially serving as a form of star map. Some suggest this was a way of preserving the lost civilization's astronomical knowledge. But as we continue to peel back the layers of history, we remain open to new discoveries, fresh perspectives, and intriguing possibilities. After all, the quest for knowledge is never-ending. Did you know that beneath the swirling waters of the Mediterranean lies a city that was once the grandest port of the ancient world, its splendor now hidden beneath the waves? Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and captivating world of Thonis-Heracleion, Egypt's sunken city. Through its rise and fall, from being an emblem of prosperity to a submerged testament of time, Thonis-Heracleion whispers tales that challenge our understanding of history, culture, and human achievement. So let's embark on this journey where we'll not only unmask the past, but also explore how the future of archaeological exploration is set to unfold. Today we're diving deep into the story of Thonis-Heracleion, a city that once stood proud but now resides beneath the waves. But what if I told you that this submerged city was once one of the grandest in the world? Yes, let's rewind back a few millennia to the days when Thonis-Heracleion was at its peak. In the time of its glory, around the 8th to the 2nd century BCE, Thonis-Heracleion wasn't just a city. It was one of Egypt's most important commercial hubs and port of entry for trade with the Mediterranean. This wasn't just a backwater outpost, it was a bustling, vibrant city filled with grand temples, trading posts, and residential areas. Picture this: giant statues of pharaohs and gods adorning the public spaces, stately stone steles inscribed with royal decrees, vessels filled with goods from Greece and beyond arriving at the city's harbor, priests performing religious rituals at grand temples like the one dedicated to the god Amun-Gereb, the supreme god of the Egyptians at the time. In many ways, Thonis-Heracleion was a microcosm of the ancient world's interconnectivity. The city's strategic position near the mouth of the Nile made it a key trading hub between the Mediterranean and the Nile Delta. This wasn't just a place where goods were exchanged, it was a place where cultures, ideas, and traditions intermingled. But it wasn't just about trade. Thonis-Heracleion also had a spiritual significance. According to Herodotus, the city was where the hero Heracles first set foot on Egypt, and where Helen of Troy and her lover Paris sought refuge. This added a layer of myth and legend to the city's bustling trade and vibrant life. And while this paints a vivid picture of a thriving city, all this grandeur, all these tales and legends, all these monuments to human achievement would eventually sink beneath the waves. But what happened? Why did such a vital city disappear from history only to be discovered underwater centuries later? But how does a city go from being one of the most influential in the ancient world to resting beneath the sea? Well, as they say, nothing lasts forever. When Thonis-Heracleion fell, it was quite literally, but why? What caused this great city to disappear into the depths of the Mediterranean? The answer, as is often the case, lies in a combination of natural and human-induced factors. Researchers believe that the city's downfall was mainly due to geological and climatic changes. Thonis-Heracleion was built on the Nile Delta's unstable sediments, which are vulnerable to liquefaction. This process turns seemingly solid ground into a flowing liquid state, a bit like quicksand. Now imagine large buildings, statues, and a growing population pressing down on this land. Meanwhile, the sea level was rising, not rapidly but consistently year after year. The combined weight and geological instability were ticking time bombs. Now, add to this some catastrophic natural events. It's believed that a series of earth tremors and tsunamis hit the region around the time of Thonis-Heracleion's decline. Gradually, over decades or perhaps a few short centuries, the city began sinking into the sea, buildings collapsed, streets flooded, and, bit by bit, Thonis-Heracleion was claimed by the Mediterranean. But here's the twist: while the city was slowly sinking, people didn't just abandon it. The inhabitants tried to adapt, to build over the sinking ruins to keep their city alive. But ultimately, nature had the final say. By the end of the 2nd century BCE, most of Thonis-Heracleion had sunk beneath the sea. Alexandria, another city founded by Alexander the Great, took over as Egypt's premier port, and Thonis-Heracleion gradually faded from collective memory. It wasn't until the beginning of the 21st century that the submerged city was rediscovered and brought back into the limelight, a tale we will explore in our next segment. It's easy to forget, but our past is always beneath our feet and sometimes beneath the waves. The city of Thonis-Heracleion disappeared from our collective memory until the turn of the 21st century, when our narrative takes an exciting turn. We transition from history to a more modern tale of adventure and rediscovery, similar to an Indiana Jones movie but underwater. Enter French underwater archaeologist Frank Goddio. In 2000, Goddio, supported by his team from the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology, embarked on an expedition to unravel a mystery that had remained unsolved for centuries. Armed with ancient texts and cutting-edge technology, Goddio searched the seabed of Aboukir Bay off the coast of Egypt. What he discovered was beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Over the course of many years, his team methodically uncovered the remnants of Thonis-Heracleion. Giant statues, gold coins, stelae inscribed with ancient Greek and Egyptian scripts, pottery, jewelry, and even shipwrecks emerged from the silt-covered seabed. But perhaps the most significant find was a huge stone slab known as the Decree of Sais, which helped to confirm beyond doubt that this was indeed the lost city of Thonis-Heracleion. But imagine the difficulty of this task. Imagine being an archaeologist, but your work site is under several meters of water, and your historical treasures are buried under centuries of silt and sediment. It's a painstaking process, moving centimeter by centimeter, careful not to destroy the fragile relics of the past. Every object brought to the surface was meticulously documented and conserved. Many of these artifacts are now exhibited in museums around the world, providing us with a tangible connection to this lost city and its intriguing past. It's incredible to think that a city once so vibrant and influential could be forgotten, only to be rediscovered millennia later. Now let's venture a little deeper into the world of underwater archaeology, which plays a crucial role in unlocking the mysteries of submerged cities like Thonis-Heracleion. This is no easy task, mind you. In fact, the challenges of underwater archaeology are as deep and complex as the oceans themselves. Firstly, we have the obstacle of depth. The deeper an archaeological site, the greater the pressure, the colder the temperature, and the darker it gets. These harsh conditions limit the amount of time divers can spend underwater and impair their ability to see and move, thus complicating excavation efforts. Then there's the issue of sediment. Over centuries, sunken cities become buried under layers of sand and silt, obscuring them from view. Unlike digging on land, removing sediment underwater creates clouds of debris that reduce visibility and can potentially damage delicate artifacts. Furthermore, marine archaeology demands a comprehensive and interdisciplinary approach, combining the principles of archaeology, oceanography, marine biology, and engineering, among others. Excavation techniques must also be adapted to handle artifacts that have been immersed in water for centuries, as these objects can be extremely fragile and can disintegrate if not handled with extreme care. Equipment and technology pose another challenge. Underwater archaeology relies heavily on advanced tools such as remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, sonar mapping systems, and specialized diving equipment. But these technologies are expensive and require specialized training to operate. Lastly, we can't ignore the conservation challenge. Once artifacts are brought to the surface, they must undergo extensive and often costly conservation work to prevent them from degrading in the air. This involves removing salts and other corrosive agents, carefully drying the artifacts and preserving them for further study and display. But why do we go to such lengths? Because every challenge overcome, every artifact unearthed is another piece in the jigsaw puzzle of our past. And as we've seen with the discovery and ongoing exploration of Thonis-Heracleion, the results can be astonishing, opening up new windows into ancient civilizations and their untold stories. In the end, despite all the hardships and complexities, the quest to unravel the mysteries hidden beneath the waves continues. Because just as Michelangelo once said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free," underwater archaeologists see the whispers of history in the deep blue and dive until they set them free. As we delve into the future of Thonis-Heracleion, we find ourselves face to face with a combination of excitement, anticipation, and concern. Yes, the journey of discovery isn't over yet. In fact, one might say it has just begun. The current body of knowledge we have about Thonis-Heracleion is like a puzzle with many missing pieces. Each dive, each excavation, promises the potential discovery of new artifacts that could help us form a more complete picture of this ancient city. However, the future isn't just about uncovering what lies beneath. New technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, and 3D modeling can play a significant role in bringing the story of Thonis-Heracleion to a broader audience. Imagine strapping on a virtual reality headset and walking through the ancient streets of Thonis-Heracleion, seeing the buildings, the artifacts, and the people as they were thousands of years ago. Isn't that mind-boggling? Yet, while we dream of digital recreations and archaeological revelations, there is an urgent concern that looms large: the threat of climate change. Rising sea levels, warming oceans, and extreme weather events pose serious risks to underwater archaeological sites. These impacts can accelerate the degradation of artifacts and structures, and even make some sites inaccessible for study. This urgency further underlines the need for continued exploration and preservation efforts. There's an ongoing debate about whether we should leave artifacts in situ, preserving them underwater, or bring them to the surface for study and conservation. As technology advances, we might be able to do both: explore and conserve the site underwater while also digitally documenting and replicating the finds for study and display. And there you have it. From the glories of its heyday to the mysteries shrouding its decline, the story of Thonis-Heracleion is indeed a fascinating saga. Its rediscovery not only gives us a glimpse into an era long gone, but also presents us with opportunities to revolutionize how we perceive and preserve our past. As we look towards the future, it's clear that the tale of Thonis-Heracleion is far from over. With advancing technology and undying human curiosity, we stand at the brink of even more groundbreaking discoveries. So, as we bid adieu to the sunken city of Thonis-Heracleion for now, remember, picture the grandeur of ancient Egypt, mighty pharaohs, the majestic Sphinx, and of course the awe-inspiring pyramids. Now, take a leap through time to the Roman Empire, famous for its innovative engineering and renowned military conquests. But what if I told you that these two mighty civilizations are more intertwined than you'd ever imagined? What if the pyramids, one of the ancient world's greatest wonders, held a fascinating chapter in the narrative of Roman expansion? Yes, that's right. Today we'll dive into the dramatic shift from the pharaonic era of Egypt to its time under Roman rule and unravel the influence of the Romans on Egypt's most iconic structures. To appreciate the magnitude of change that the end of the pharaoh's era marked, we must first understand the incredible influence and grandeur of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Spanning over 3,000 years, the era of the pharaohs was marked by a series of ruling dynasties, each leaving its mark on the land of the Nile. From the Old Kingdom era, when the pyramids were constructed, to the Middle and New Kingdoms, when Egypt expanded its influence through military campaigns and trade, the civilization thrived, prospered, and demonstrated its resilience in the face of historical turmoil. And at the heart of it all were the pharaohs, the god-kings of Egypt, the intermediaries between the gods and the people. Through an intricate, deeply spiritual system of governance, these rulers commanded the respect and devotion of their subjects, ensuring the continuity of their civilization. However, the arrival of Alexander the Great in 332 BC marked a significant turning point. The Ptolemaic dynasty that he established was Hellenistic in nature, marking the beginning of the end of pharaonic rule. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh, was a symbol of this fusion of Greek and Egyptian cultures. Her intelligence, charisma, and strategic alliances with Roman leaders Julius Caesar and Mark Antony made her a significant historical figure. Yet her reign was fraught with political challenges and personal tragedies. When she famously took her life in 30 BC, the age of the pharaohs effectively ended. The Egypt that Cleopatra left behind was an empire on the precipice of profound change. This period marked the end of Egypt's independence and the beginning of a new era under the control of a burgeoning empire. Rome. Now, as we move into the Roman conquest of Egypt, we find ourselves navigating a series of strategic moves and political intrigues. With the death of Cleopatra, the land of the Nile was effectively annexed by Rome and turned into a province under the control of Octavian, who would later be known as Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. But why was Egypt so attractive to the Romans? The reasons were primarily economic and strategic. Egypt was the breadbasket of the Mediterranean. Its fertile lands, nourished by the annual flooding of the Nile, yielded crops that fed the Roman populace and fueled its armies. Plus, it was a gateway to the riches of Africa and the Near East. Roman control of Egypt marked a significant shift in power dynamics, as it was the first time Egypt had been ruled by a foreign power. Yet even as the Romans wielded their influence, they couldn't ignore the deep cultural and religious roots of the Egyptians. They adopted some of the local gods, including Isis, and even the tradition of pharaohs to an extent. The Roman emperors, like the pharaohs before them, projected themselves as godlike figures, often adorning themselves in traditional Egyptian garb in statues and reliefs. Still, as they maintained this facade of cultural integration, the Romans also pursued their own interests. One such interest, intriguingly, might have been the mysterious and awe-inspiring structures dotting the Egyptian landscape, the pyramids. So what did it really mean to be Egypt under Roman rule? And while there was certainly cultural assimilation as Romans adopted Egyptian gods and traditions, Egypt also became a Roman province. This meant taxation, and Egypt was heavily taxed. The fertile Nile Delta was a treasure trove producing grain, papyrus, and precious gems, all of which found their way into Roman coffers. Yet even as the riches of Egypt fueled the Roman Empire, there were also periods of unrest. The Egyptian populace, after centuries of being ruled by god-kings, now found themselves subjects of a distant emperor and Roman bureaucrats who were more interested in wealth extraction than in the preservation of the ancient Egyptian culture. The impact of the Roman rule on the Egyptian landscape was also significant. Roman architecture began to sprout across Egypt, from the coastal city of Alexandria to the southern city of Aswan. Temples to Roman gods were constructed alongside ancient Egyptian temples, and Roman-styled villas were built alongside traditional Egyptian homes. The juxtaposition of these two distinct architectural styles showcases the collision of two powerful civilizations. In the midst of this cultural and architectural synthesis, the pyramids stood timeless. What the Romans thought of these ancient structures and how they interacted with them is a question that delves deep into the realm of speculation. a curiosity that tickles our imagination. The pyramids, timeless behemoths of stone, their grandeur a testament to a civilization's past glory. But when the Romans first laid their eyes on them, what did they think? What did they do? We know from various accounts that the Romans, like the Greeks before them, were fascinated by the pyramids. Their size, their age, their engineering, everything about them was a wonder. Some Roman writers, such as Pliny the Elder, wrote extensively about them. Pliny, in his Natural History, called them an idle and foolish exhibition of royal wealth, but his detailed descriptions betray a fascination with their complexity and longevity. But did the Romans ever venture inside? Were they, as some believe, the last people to raid the pyramids for their treasure? Archaeological evidence suggests that by the time the Romans arrived in Egypt, the pyramids had been standing for over 2,000 years. Many of them were already heavily looted, and most of the treasure was long gone. The Great Pyramid itself was sealed, and it is highly unlikely the Romans had the technology to break in without leaving evidence of their intrusion. Yet stories of Roman treasure hunters guided by ancient maps and legends seeking the secrets of the pyramids persist. Could there have been rogue Roman officials or adventurous explorers who attempted to find hidden chambers and undiscovered loot? The notion is romantic, albeit historically tenuous. In truth, the Romans probably treated the pyramids with the same curiosity and awe as we do. They were relics of a bygone era, timeless monuments that represented a civilization that was ancient even in their time. Rather than the ransacking conquerors some may envision, the Romans may have been the first tourists gazing upon the wonders of a fallen empire. The line between treasure hunter and archaeologist can be a blurry one. Did Romans ransack the pyramids in search of hidden wealth, or were they preservationists, attempting to safeguard and understand these impressive structures? Let's dive deeper. We have records of Roman emperors such as Augustus and Hadrian visiting Egypt and expressing a great interest in its antiquities. In fact, many Roman leaders funded expeditions to explore and document Egypt's monuments. They brought back a wealth of knowledge about Egyptian culture, language, and history. So it's clear the Romans held a fascination for Egypt's past, but did this translate into a respect for its physical artifacts? Unfortunately, the answer is not straightforward. While some Roman officials genuinely sought to understand and preserve Egypt's heritage, others saw the ancient monuments as resources to be exploited. For example, there's evidence of stone from the pyramids being quarried for other building projects. The situation gets even murkier when we consider the concept of treasure hunting. The phrase conjures images of rogue explorers plundering tombs and temples for gold and jewels. But in the context of the Roman period, treasure could also refer to knowledge, historical artifacts, or even mystical power. Pyramids with their ancient hidden chambers could hold untold secrets in the Roman imagination. In a strange twist of fate, the Roman obsession with Egypt might have inadvertently led to some preservation. Many Egyptian artifacts found their way to Rome, effectively being saved from the ravages of time and later, more destructive conquerors. So the Romans' relationship with the pyramids and Egypt's treasures was complicated, to say the least. A mix of reverence, curiosity, greed, and pragmatism that has left us with a wealth of questions and a rich, albeit confounding, historical legacy. The Roman period was a pivotal chapter in the long, complex story of Egypt. How the Romans interacted with the pyramids, the Sphinx, and other Egyptian antiquities has significantly shaped our understanding of these iconic structures. For one thing, Romans played a key role in the spread of Egyptomania, the fascination with all things Egyptian. This phenomenon was popular in Rome even before Egypt was annexed as a province. Statues, obelisks, and other Egyptian antiquities were transported to Rome to decorate public buildings and private villas, and the Roman aristocracy even had a fad for Egyptian-style garden ornaments. But Rome's influence went beyond simply popularizing Egyptian style. Roman engineers, architects, and scholars also studied and documented Egyptian monuments in great detail. The records they left behind have been invaluable for modern Egyptologists, providing insight into the state of these structures in antiquity. Another Roman contribution was the preservation of Egypt's built heritage, albeit indirectly. By incorporating Egypt into their empire, the Romans brought relative stability and prosperity to the region, allowing for the maintenance and repair of ancient monuments. While there were cases of Romans quarrying stone from the pyramids for their own construction projects on the whole, these monuments were largely respected and preserved during the Roman period. However, the Romans also unwittingly contributed to some destruction. The trade in Egyptian antiquities, coupled with the frequent treasure hunts, led to the loss and damage of many artifacts and structures. Overall, the Romans left an indelible mark on Egypt and its ancient heritage. Their influence is evident in everything from the physical state of the pyramids to our contemporary fascination with this civilization. The story of the Romans and the pyramids is a complex tapestry, woven from threads of curiosity, respect, exploitation, and ultimately preservation. It's a testament to the enduring allure of Egypt's past and a reminder of how our understanding of history is shaped not only by the events of antiquity, but by those who have studied it in the centuries since. Deep beneath the Sphinx of Giza, shrouded in the sands of Egypt, lies a tantalizing mystery, the Osiris shaft. This complex system of underground tunnels and chambers is as perplexing as it is fascinating. It's a testament to the awe-inspiring achievements of the ancient Egyptians, but like the Sphinx itself, the shaft remains a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. What secrets does this hidden, sealed passage hold? Does it merely reflect the mastery of ancient engineers? Or does it hint at otherworldly influences? Together, let's delve into the depths of the Osiris shaft and uncover the theories that surround its existence. For as long as humankind can remember, we've been irresistibly drawn to the unknown, to the exploration of places that hold the potential to rewrite the history we thought we knew. One such place is the Osiris Tunnel, located deep beneath the iconic Giza Plateau in Egypt. While the pyramids and Sphinx may steal the spotlight, this underground labyrinth is equally deserving of our attention. The discovery of this tunnel system surprised many, not least because it seemed to appear out of nowhere, hidden beneath the sand and forgotten over millennia. It was as if the Earth had suddenly opened a door to the past, offering us a glimpse into an age that continues to fascinate us, the age of the pharaohs. And it's not just any past, but a past that involves Osiris, one of the most significant gods of ancient Egypt. Osiris was the god of the afterlife, the underworld, and resurrection. The tunnel's central tomb, the so-called Tomb of Osiris, is a compelling artifact, a subterranean cenotaph that plunges 29 meters into the earth. The sight of this deep, water-filled shaft with its 4 pillars is eerily suggestive of the myth of Osiris's death and resurrection. It's a powerful reminder of the mythic grandeur that once pervaded ancient Egyptian culture. But the question that intrigues us all is, why was it built? Was it merely symbolic, a tribute to the great god Osiris? Or did it serve a more practical purpose? Perhaps even as a place of ritualistic communication with the gods? And then, there are those who believe that it might not have been the Egyptians at all who constructed this marvel. Could it be evidence of a long-lost civilization or extraterrestrial involvement? In the sands of Egypt, the Osiris Tunnel opens up more mysteries than it resolves, and yet its discovery has provided us with an incredible opportunity. What's truly striking about the Osiris shaft is its complex architecture. The entrance itself is modest, an unassuming square opening on the Giza Plateau, leading downward through a narrow corridor. But as we delve deeper, the engineering marvels of ancient Egyptians become manifest. The shaft is divided into 3 levels, each separated by a couple of dozen feet. The first 2 levels house 6 and 5 burial chambers, respectively, all of them intricately chiseled out of the bedrock. Not only that, but each burial chamber has been carved with an attention to detail that is truly astonishing. The smoothness of the walls, the precision of the angles, all speak of a level of craftsmanship that would be remarkable even today, let alone in an era before modern tools and technology. Descending further to the 3rd level, we find ourselves in a larger, more open space, partially filled with groundwater. Here lies an empty sarcophagus, its lid ajar, and curiously carved directly from the bedrock. The construction of this level particularly baffles researchers. The builders dug about 30 meters into the bedrock, right below the water table, which means they had to devise some way to keep the water out while they worked. How they achieved this remains a mystery, a testament to their problem-solving abilities and their remarkable understanding of the local geography. In the very design of the Osiris shaft, we find a mirror reflecting the engineering ingenuity of the ancient Egyptians. But beyond that, these subterranean chambers embody a sense of purpose and intent, a deliberate planning that lends credence to the belief that this was not merely a burial site, but perhaps something much more significant. It's these mysteries of construction, intertwined with the enigma of its purpose, that continue to draw researchers to the Osiris shaft, ever eager to uncover its secrets. The nature of the Osiris shaft has given rise to a myriad of theories and speculations. What was its true purpose? Who were supposed to be entombed in the shaft? The depth and complexity of the structure suggest a purpose of great importance. Some Egyptologists posit that it was a symbolic tomb for the god Osiris, given its name and the role that the god Osiris played in ancient Egyptian cosmology. However, alternative theories also abound, particularly in the realm of the speculative and the esoteric. The Osiris shaft's deep connection with the ground and its location in the Giza Plateau has led some to propose that it might have been a conduit for harnessing telluric currents or earth energies as part of a wider network of such structures across ancient Egypt. Then there are theories that veer into the realms of the fantastical, suggesting an extraterrestrial influence. They argue that the complex and advanced engineering of the Osiris shaft could only be possible with knowledge or technology from a non-human source. These theories often converge with ancient astronaut hypotheses, positing that early civilizations had contact with extraterrestrial beings who influenced their cultures and technologies. And finally, there are theories that the shaft might have served as a repository for sacred knowledge or treasures, waiting to be discovered. The empty sarcophagus in the third level, for instance, fuels speculation that it may have once held something of great significance. While these theories are intriguing and often capture public imagination, it's important to remember that evidence to conclusively support any of them is currently lacking. As such, the Osiris shaft continues to be a mystery, its true purpose buried deep within the annals of time, waiting to be revealed. The Osiris shaft's alignment is another topic of fascination, puzzlement, and intense debate among scholars and enthusiasts alike. The tunnel, along with other significant structures on the Giza Plateau, aligns with the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west. Such alignment might not seem out of the ordinary until we consider the degree of precision achieved by the ancient builders. North-south alignment in particular draws significant interest. This alignment, as observed in many Egyptian pyramids and other constructions, is seemingly done with an extraordinary level of accuracy that is hard to achieve even with modern tools. It is suggested that this alignment was achieved using the stars, as the North Star, Polaris, would have been a reliable reference point for the ancients. Moreover, the alignment of the shaft to these cardinal directions lends credibility to the theory that it was built with a cosmological purpose in mind. In ancient Egyptian belief, cardinal directions had a deep spiritual significance. North was considered the direction of the gods, the divine realm, and the celestial river, while south was associated with the land of the living. East and west, on the other hand, represented sunrise, life, and sunset, death, respectively. Some alternative theories go even further, suggesting that the alignment of the shaft is part of a larger pattern encompassing the Great Pyramids, the Sphinx, and other structures, possibly forming a terrestrial map of the stars. This line of thought often aligns with the ancient astronaut hypothesis, where proponents argue for extraterrestrial influence in the design and construction of these ancient structures. While these speculations can be exciting and thought-provoking, it's important to note that none of them have been definitively proven. The alignment of the Osiris shaft continues to be a topic of exploration and research, providing more questions than answers. The mystery of the Osiris shaft deepens when we consider that its entrance was once sealed. This fact has raised eyebrows and stirred further speculation. Why, some ask, would archaeologists seal off such a fascinating structure? As always, there are several theories to consider, each with its own implications. The first explanation might be the simplest: preservation. Archaeological sites around the world, particularly those as significant as the Giza Plateau, are frequently sealed to protect them from the ravages of time, environmental factors, and human interference. By limiting access, archaeologists can ensure these important sites remain intact for future generations to study and appreciate. Second reason might be safety. The Osiris shaft is not just an underground structure. It's a deep 3-level vertical tunnel. Without proper equipment and preparation, it could pose significant risks to inexperienced or unauthorized individuals who might attempt to explore it. A third perspective leans towards the more conspiratorial. Some argue that the sealing off of the Osiris shaft could be an attempt to hide something. This theory often dovetails with the idea of a vast underground network of tunnels and chambers yet to be fully discovered or disclosed. The idea here is that sealing the shaft could serve to limit public awareness or scrutiny. Regardless of the true reason, the sealing of the Osiris shaft adds yet another layer of intrigue to this ancient enigma. Whether it's about preservation, safety, or potentially concealing the secrets of a lost civilization, we may never know. But one thing's for certain, the Osiris shaft locked away beneath the Sphinx and the Giza Plateau continues to captivate our collective curiosity. As much as the allure of ancient mysteries and conspiracy theories tend to fuel our collective imagination, it's also important to consider the views of skeptics. The skeptic's perspective is rooted in the principle of Occam's razor. The simplest explanation, that requires the fewest assumptions, is usually the correct one. In the context of the Osiris shaft and its alignment, skeptics offer a less sensational perspective. Skeptics would argue that the precision of the north-south alignment, while impressive, isn't necessarily evidence of a grand cosmic design or extraterrestrial influence. It's worth noting that the ancient Egyptians had a deep understanding of astronomy and used it routinely in their architectural planning. They had the means and knowledge to achieve a high degree of precision in their alignments. Furthermore, the idea that the shaft was part of a sophisticated system of tunnels under the Giza Plateau, some believe, could be an overinterpretation of what may simply be a series of ancient tombs, as they are traditionally understood. Critics of more outlandish theories often point out that proponents frequently neglect to provide satisfactory explanations for how these theories fit within the broader context of ancient Egyptian culture and practices. The skeptic's perspective does not discount the marvel of the Osiris shaft. Instead, it emphasizes that understanding the true significance of such structures is often more complicated and nuanced than it might initially seem. The extraordinary aspects of the Osiris shaft can still be appreciated without attributing them to alien architects or lost civilizations. In fact, doing so allows us to more fully appreciate the remarkable capabilities of our ancient human ancestors. And so we find ourselves at the end of this labyrinth of theories, facts, and speculations. The Osiris shaft, in all its mystique and grandeur, continues to provoke questions that keep us on the edge of our seats. From intriguing construction mysteries, conspiratorial ideas of a lost civilization to the very rationale behind sealing this ancient marvel, the Osiris shaft reminds us that history isn't just a finished book. It's an ongoing narrative, ripe with puzzles left unsolved, ripe with stories yet to be told. And as always, the curiosity to seek answers keeps us delving deeper. Do you ever wonder how much truth lies beneath the tales of old? Ancient myths and legends filled with gods, heroes, and fantastical beasts often seem too extraordinary to hold any factual basis. Yet there are instances where archaeology, history, and science have unveiled truths hidden within these tales. Yes, some ancient myths have a kernel of reality within their layers of symbolism and metaphor. Today, we are going to delve into 7 fascinating cases where myth intertwines with history, where the lines between fact and fiction blur, and ancient stories reveal their true colors. The city of Troy, famous in Homer's Iliad, was once considered purely fictional, a tale to fascinate listeners and readers. The city was described as grand, filled with mighty warriors and noble kings, and the setting for the legendary Trojan War. The Greek hero Achilles, the Trojan prince Hector, and the beautiful Helen. They were all characters in this drama, but could it be that these characters were not just part of an epic poem, but people who once lived and breathed? In the 19th century, archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann became fascinated with the idea that the Homeric legends had a basis in historical fact. Rather than dismissing the Iliad as mere fiction, Schliemann used it as a map. He followed the detailed descriptions and geographical clues that Homer had left in his text. His obsession brought him to Hisarlik, a site in modern-day Turkey. In Hisarlik, Schliemann began to dig. His excavations revealed a multi-layered city, one that had been built and rebuilt over the centuries. Artifacts dating back to the Bronze Age were found, and the layout of the city matched that described in Homer's epic. The walls of the city, the gates, the placement of buildings, it all pointed to one conclusion. This was the site of the ancient city of Troy. Critics questioned Schliemann's methods and interpretations, They argued that his desire to find Troy may have led him to see what he wanted to see, but subsequent excavations by other archaeologists have supported Schliemann's claim. While it's challenging to prove that the Trojan War, as described by Homer, actually occurred, there's no longer any doubt that a city existed at Hissarlik, a city that fits the description and timeline of Homer's Troy. Let's step into the ancient city of Babylon, one of the most famous cities of the ancient world and home to one of the seven wonders, the Hanging Gardens. This marvel is wrapped in an enigmatic aura, largely because despite numerous historical accounts of its existence, no physical evidence of the gardens has ever been found. But wait, how can something so grand, so monumental, simply vanish without a trace? The Hanging Gardens were said to be an architectural masterpiece, a testament to human ingenuity and a challenge to Mother Nature herself. They were purportedly built by King Nebuchadnezzar II around 600 BC for his wife Amytis, who was homesick for the lush green landscapes of her homeland Media. It's like if you can't go to the mountain, bring the mountain to you. But this mountain was a little more than a mound of earth. This was a spectacular terrace garden filled with exotic plants and trees, adorned with intricate irrigation systems. Historians believe that the gardens were tiered, much like a ziggurat, with each level teeming with a diverse array of flora. The plants were not rooted in the earth directly, but in a roofed area where a complex irrigation system fed water from the Euphrates River. This marvel of engineering, essentially a primitive form of hydroponics, is a testament to the advanced understanding of engineering and horticulture by the Babylonians. The Hanging Gardens must have been a sight to behold. Imagine a city in the desert, its arid beige landscape broken by a towering structure teeming with greenery. A beacon of life and color cascading down in tiers, a spectacle of nature suspended in the air. It was a marvel that, even in the absence of physical evidence, has left an indelible mark on the annals of human civilization. However, recent research has suggested that the Hanging Gardens may not have been located in Babylon at all. Dr. Stephanie Daly, an Assyriologist from the University of Oxford, posits that the gardens were actually located in the Assyrian city of Nineveh. She bases her theory on a retranslation of ancient texts and points out that Babylon was often used in texts to refer generically to any area of Mesopotamia. King Midas, a character from ancient Greek mythology known far and wide for his ability to turn everything he touched into gold, aptly named the Golden Touch. This might sound like a superpower to most, but as the tale unfolds, we learn that it's not all it's cracked up to be. But where does this story come from and how does it stand up to the facts? King Midas was a historical figure, a Phrygian king who reigned in the 8th century BC. The ancient Greeks believed he was the son of Gordeus and Cybele, the goddess of fertility. So far, so historical, right? But here's where it gets a little golden. According to legend, Midas helped the drunken Silenus, a companion of the god Dionysus, back home. In gratitude, Dionysus offered to grant Midas a single wish. Overwhelmed with greed, Midas wished for everything he touched to turn into gold. At first, Midas was overjoyed. The ability to generate infinite wealth with a simple touch seemed like a dream come true. But the dream rapidly turned into a nightmare. When he attempted to eat, his food turned into inedible gold. When he tried to drink, his water transformed into molten gold. Even his beloved daughter, whom he accidentally touched, turned into a golden statue. His blessing was, in fact, a curse. Stricken with despair, he begged Dionysus to remove his golden touch. The god agreed, instructing Midas to wash in the river Pactolus to reverse the enchantment. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. The river Pactolus, located in what is now modern Turkey, was renowned in ancient times for its rich deposits of gold. Even today, gold dust can be found in its waters. Was this the result of some geological phenomenon? Or could it be that there's some truth to the myth of King Midas after all? What's more, archaeological evidence suggests that the kingdom of Phrygia was known for its wealth and craft in working with gold. The Midas Mound burial site in Gordian, Turkey, named for the legendary king, contained a wealth of golden artifacts when it was excavated in the 1950s. The concept of a cataclysmic flood that wipes out most of life on Earth is a common thread in many ancient cultures, leading us to wonder, could this possibly be grounded in some historical reality? We have the biblical account of Noah's Ark, But there are also similar tales from the ancient Sumerians, Greeks, Hindus, Chinese, and Native Americans, among others. Even in an era before global communication, this story seems to have been replicated in cultures thousands of miles apart. So could these flood myths be more than just stories? In the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known works of literature dating back to ancient Sumeria, we encounter the story of Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim was warned by the god Enki of a coming flood and instructed to build a boat to save himself, his family, and all the animals. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The parallels between this story and the biblical account of Noah are uncanny. In Greece, we have the myth of Deucalion and Pyrrha, who were the only survivors of a great deluge sent by an angry Zeus. In Hindu mythology, there's the story of Manu, who builds a boat to survive a flood that engulfs the earth. These stories, despite originating from different cultures and time periods, share a remarkable similarity. It's easy to dismiss these tales as coincidental or symbolic, but geological evidence suggests that large-scale flooding did occur in various parts of the world at different times. For instance, around 5600 BC, a catastrophic event known as the Black Sea Deluge may have flooded a vast area of land. Another fascinating theory revolves around the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 BC, when melting ice caps would have caused sea levels to rise significantly, potentially submerging coastal civilizations and giving rise to flood legends. In North America, there's evidence of the Missoula floods, a series of cataclysmic floods that occurred between 15,000 and 13,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. These floods, caused by the periodic rupturing of ice dams, were of such a scale that they dramatically altered the landscape of parts of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. So while we can't say for certain that any one of these flood myths is a direct account of these events, the geological evidence does suggest that our ancient ancestors had to deal with catastrophic floods. Their collective memory of these terrifying events may have been passed down through generations, slowly morphing into the flood myths we know today. The idea of a great flood, it seems, may not be entirely mythical after all. It's a fascinating testament to the way humans, across cultures and across time, make sense of the natural world and its sometimes catastrophic events. The ancient city of Helak, often referred to as the real-life Atlantis, is a fascinating tale of an entire city that supposedly disappeared overnight. The city was an important center of the Achaean civilization, predating Athens and holding significant power and influence in the region. It was famed for its sanctuary of Poseidon, the god of the sea, earthquakes, and horses. The story goes that one fateful winter night in 373 BC, the city was obliterated. But this was no ordinary destruction. According to ancient texts, the city sank into a lagoon, disappearing beneath the waves in a single night, following a combination of a powerful earthquake and a subsequent tsunami. The city, its buildings, and its inhabitants were lost beneath the sea, leaving no trace on the surface. The event was so catastrophic that it was said to have inspired the philosopher Plato's account of Atlantis. But was Helike just a myth? For centuries, the story was treated as such, until modern archaeologists decided to investigate. In the late 20th century, a team led by Greek archaeologist Dora Katsonopoulou launched an expedition to find the lost city. After a lengthy search in 2001, they finally found something remarkable: ruins submerged in a lagoon near the village of Rizomylos, including a large building with archaic walls, classical ceramic fragments, and even bronze artifacts, all dated back to when Helike was supposed to have existed. The findings suggested that the city had been struck by a massive earthquake which liquefied the ground, a process known as soil liquefaction. This, coupled with the tsunami that followed, would have swallowed up the city, much as the ancient texts described. Excavations are still ongoing, but every uncovered artifact adds credibility to a story once thought to be a myth. When we think of the Amazons, images of fierce, independent warrior women might spring to mind thanks to Greek mythology. These women were said to have lived apart from men, only interacting with them for procreation. They were described as equals to men in physical agility and courage, legendary for their skills in battle and their ruthlessness. But how much of this was myth and how much was reality? Ancient Greek historians such as Herodotus wrote detailed accounts of the Amazons, but for a long time these stories were treated as just that, stories. The idea of a society of warrior women living in a land beyond the realms of the known world seemed fantastical. But then, archaeology stepped in and offered us a different perspective. In the 1990s, a series of graves were uncovered in the Eurasian steppe, specifically in areas around modern-day Russia and Kazakhstan, which dramatically changed our understanding of the Amazons. The graves contained the remains of women buried with weapons, including arrows and spears, as well as horse-riding gear, equipment that mirrored what was described in the tales of the Amazons. Even more striking was the evidence of battle scars on the bones, including arrowheads lodged in the bodies, indicating that these women were not just buried with weapons for symbolic reasons. They were warriors who had actively participated in combat. These findings suggest that the myth of the Amazons might have been inspired by real warrior women from the Scythian culture, a nomadic group that inhabited these areas. This discovery has had a profound impact on how we interpret the myth of the Amazons. It suggests that the ancient Greeks may have had contacts with these warrior women, either through trade or warfare, and their stories were then woven into the rich tapestry of Greek mythology. We've journeyed from the walls of Troy to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, from the touch of King Midas to the shores of the lost city of Helag. We've seen how the myth of the fierce Amazon women held a reality. These instances show us that the boundary between myth and reality is not as rigid as we might think. Indeed, our understanding of the past is an ever-evolving tapestry of fact, interpretation, and storytelling. It reminds us that within every myth, there may lie a grain of truth waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, remember, the world is full of mysteries and our quest for knowledge is never-ending. And as always, keep your mind open and keep questioning.